Hey guys, it's the Tech Wannabe, and today I'm going to do a video for the person that's doing their research into what it's going to be like moving to a 32:9 monitor, which is something that I didn't do. Just for a point of reference, the monitor that I have is the Samsung Odyssey G9. Now this isn't a review of the monitor, it's just going to be talking about the 32:9 inch aspect ratio, but just in case it's important for you guys to know what I'm using, that is what I'm using. I want to start by saying for work and for general use, and you've heard it a million times before, the real estate is insane. Having what is the equivalent to two 27-inch 16:9 monitors next to each other is massive. But having no gap in between them as well just makes the whole experience a lot more seamless. And it really is just a huge benefit to both like efficiency and convenience. So if you're working, for example, I tend to put a big sort of 16:9 in the middle and then have two sort of thinner displays each side with my resources, with my research or whatever I'm doing about like a YouTube video, for example. And then I write the rough script in the middle while watching a video and perhaps reading about some details myself. And being able to do that all on one monitor really is a really good experience. And for some programs, it can be really good. It can also be really bad, and we'll talk about that as well. But for, say, for example, video editing, you can see so much of your timeline. Even when you're zoomed right into it, you can see minutes at a time, which is a huge help to someone like me who's pretty bad at video editing, sorry. So being able to see a lot more of what's going on there is a huge help. But there are trade-offs in that regard as well, because it will also sometimes not work properly at that aspect ratio. So another program that I use, Photoshop, for making thumbnails and stuff like that, that has some really awkward issues where if the prompt window comes up saying like, are you sure you want to make these changes? Sometimes it's like way in the top left of the screen and I don't see it because it's not directly in my vision. So I end up thinking that the program's locked up and going a little bit nutty because I think I've lost all my work, and it turns out it's actually just waiting for me to click OK. It's just way over there. You kind of have to develop a sense of spatial awareness when using a monitor that big, and that's something that you got to bear in mind, because every now and then it'll catch you, and it is quite annoying. Content consumption, so watching YouTube videos and everything like that, that doesn't feel too bad. But when you go full screen to watch, say, a movie or a series or anything like Netflix, though some will support a wider screen format, absolutely none will support that wide. So you always end up with these massive black borders down each side of your content, which don't necessarily take anything away from the experience, but they do distract me. So, you know, they're not causing the aspect of the movie to go out of whack. It's just those black borders really do distract me when I'm watching something, and it takes me a good little while to kind of try and forget that they're there. And then as for gaming, and gaming is really, that's the love it or hate it side of the aspect ratio. So for the games that it does work with, the immersion that you gain is unbeatable. It can really make a game having that kind of field of view. And it's the main reason I bought it was gaming, immersive gaming, RPGs and stuff like that. But straight away, you are going to need an insanely powerful computer to get anywhere near reasonable frame rates, because 32:9 monitors are almost always extremely high resolution. So you've got to bear that in mind when buying one of these. The computer that goes with it is also going to be really expensive. And then there's the games that it doesn't work with. Some will just force it into 16:9. Others will just stretch it out like crazy, so everything's like super thick. And it's not very fun when it does that. And there are workarounds, and there are also some games that just won't work, and you have to actually change your monitor's aspect ratio and resolution and control panel in order to even get the game to launch, and sometimes even then it won't. That's a whole different story. I could probably make a video on each game that does that and how much of a pain in the ass it is. But 9 out of 10 times, maybe even 9.9 out of 10 times, you can always find a workaround, and sometimes you might not be able to enjoy the full resolution, but at least you can get the game to work. But that's something that you will have to put up with if you do go for a 32:9 aspect ratio monitor, unfortunately. But like I said, for the games that it does work in, it is absolutely amazing. And it offers not just like better immersion, but in some aspects you could argue that it offers a more competitive edge. So for example, games that I like to play that I would say you gain an edge from it we're using are Apex Legends and Warzones. They both support the aspect ratio. And you just get an insane field of view, you know, and in aspect ratios for Apex Legends, you probably get almost double that of some of the other people in your lobby, especially the console players that are like playing on 60, and you've got like 110 plus more because of the aspect ratio. You can basically see behind you, and that's something that can be a massive advantage. But again, there's also, for everything that's an advantage, there's always something that's kind of like a little bit off-putting about it. There's so much going on in that field of view, it kind of takes away from your focus. Like I find in big gunfights, because there's so much going on the left, the right, and in the middle, I sometimes lose track of what actually is going on, and that can cause issues by itself. So it's almost too good. And also there's some fisheyeing in a lot of the games that do support it. There's not always the perfect implementation. Sometimes you'll get skewed perspective. So in Apex it's particularly bad. As you turn, like things will get much wider as you turn away from them. I like insanely wide, which actually you can use to your advantage. If you're struggling to see if somebody's like off in the distance, you can turn to the side and it zooms in for you, so you can actually see much easier. But that's something. It's two sides of the same coin. It's handy to do that, but also it makes it look like people are right next to you, and you turn around and they're fucking miles away, and it makes you panic for no reason. What else is there? I think I summed it up actually pretty nicely. In the few examples that I gave, you know, it's fantastic when it works, but there are some sort of compromises that you make, and then it's a bit of a pain in the ass when it doesn't work, but there are always workarounds for it. I would say though, for me, someone who plays a wide variety of games, despite the issues it has on a few titles, overall the experience has been a positive one, and I don't think I will be going back to 16:9, unless the only reason I think I would be if I became a professional FPS player, which is never going to happen, so I don't think I'll be swapping back. But I would love to know what you're looking at moving from, and maybe we could have a discussion about what that might be like. If you have any questions that I didn't answer about using a 32:9 aspect ratio, do let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And if you found the video useful, obviously give it a like, give it a subscribe, because it supports the content massively and I appreciate it. So until next time, see you later.